Hi everybody, I'm the Oracle of Apollo, and I've been promising, I'm gonna flip this because I feel like I'm looking up at the sky. Hold on. I feel like I've been promising this pilgrimage story for 3 weeks and I haven't made it yet, so I'm trying to fulfill my promise. So essentially this story is for anyone who wants to hear a really long, amazing story about a spiritual journey that started off with a triangle. And this triangle essentially was the main key, the egg, the Easter egg, into taking a pilgrimage all the way across the country to find some amazing people and things and address some healing that needed to be done. So if you want to stay tuned for that, stay tuned for that. The story is going to be about angels, guides, messages, visions, tangible things, and random occurrences. So stay tuned for that. This is going to be quite a lengthy video. I'm not going to do too much rambling, so here we go. My name is the Oracle of Apollo, and I went to San Diego, California this year. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we have to rewind in order for you to really get this story. And if you see me looking down, that's all in this journal. And I've had to write a lot down. So in the beginning of the year, maybe February, I started to get the impression that there was a calling, I guess you guys can call it the Octarian call, to go somewhere. And I didn't know where. So that was my whole thing. It was just like, I just have this feeling, just a knowing that it was going to be time to go somewhere again, although I had just came back from a pilgrimage to Mount Shasta, and I did not make a video about that. But that video is when Saint Germain called me to Shasta to go to the Lumerian Crags. So if you want to know about that, let me know. I'll make another video for that. But this is my second trip to California, and this one is for San Diego. So in the beginning of the year, I started to get that, not just through sensory. I started to get that through messages from other people. So I run a nonprofit organization called How Awareness Center, and that's where we are right now. Actually, give you a little preview that's happening here. Okay, and I'm hearing things, and so I lost my spot. The pings messed me up. Okay, so people come in every day, walking around, and I started having different clients come in or customers come in and tell me, oh, walk right in and say, oh, you're leaving. Getting these mixed messages of I'm leaving and I'm moving from different people that were coming into the store just randomly. It'd be like the first thing that they would say. So all year long, I thought maybe I was moving at the end of the year because that's the messages that kept coming through for everybody. And so I left it at that. Then I start to see repetitive numbers, and for this particular situation, the numbers were 5555. And I was in the forest on a hike, and all of a sudden I remember sitting down and meditating next to the water and being able to see the silhouette of an airplane with clouds inside of it. The numbers 5555. 3 was really strongly represented in this as well. It was 333. And I'm thinking that particular day, just movement and just movement for the end of the year. I said, wow, that's amazing. So I wrote it in my journal. And then a few months later, around June or July, I would say, I started to get this feeling like, okay, here is what I'm supposed to be finding on this trip at the end of the year. So I don't know if it was like late June or early July. And essentially it was like a few things. It was, I was meant to go find a black man who was bald with a big dog. But then I was also meant to go find the white man who was bald with a big dog. So I thought those two things were very interesting. And I was just kind of like flabbergasted by the visual on this, as I didn't understand, and this was just implemented, like just downloaded in, and I didn't understand. I was just kind of like, why? Like, and I would not get the why, because that's always what they keep from you, is the why. He's always just walk in faith and figure it out, right? And so I just kept getting that message. So months go by and I still had people and meditation saying, oh, you're going somewhere. I had someone who actually came here to meditate and was like, oh, I have a message for you. And they're like, you got to go find the bald man with the big dog. And I'm just looking at her like, oh my goodness, have you been in my meditations? Because that's exactly what they told me. And she's like, I think it's in San Francisco. There's a trolley and I see a pyramid. I said, okay, that's cool. I had already seen the in my meditations, I had already started to see pyramids too. And basically what was happening in my meditation was I was standing in front of the Giza pyramids, or Giza pyramids, in the sand. And there's a woman standing there and she's just pointing like at the pyramids. And I'm like, I see them, but what about them? And she just keep coming back. And I wanted to be the same scene. I would just say like, okay, but what else about them? And as I was talking to people about these pyramid symbolisms that started to arise around the summertime, they were like, oh, well, you know, pyramid stands for foundation and building up and, you know, putting the last piece on and completion and ascension and all these other things and wonderful things. And I also know it's a pyramid and I understand the numerology on it. Pyramid is like 3, so that's, you know, Son, Father, Holy Spirit. But the thing about it is that although everybody kept feeding this to me symbolically, I knew like in my core that this was an actual physical, tangible place. I knew in my core. So here comes maybe like late July, early August, and I just so happened to have a day off from the center. And a friend of mine, she's like, hey, why don't you come to this meetup and come to this meetup with me. It's a John of God meetup. I've never went to John of God meetup, and essentially it was, there's this person from Brazil named John of God. And essentially what he is, he's like a medium. He channels these entities and he does psychic surgeries on people. And if you want to know about my John of God experience, I actually talked to you about that in my last 2-3 videos or 10 minutes each. And basically, I tell you what happened during, after, and then yesterday I made a new update video, which was 90 days after my John of God healing for my chronic conditions. So go watch that, go ahead. But basically, this is leading to this because it does include the John of God. And so it's the late July or early August, and she's like, oh, let's go to the John of God meditation. I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. So it wasn't with the actual person John of God. So I got cut off because I'm talking too much about John of God. The meditation, I saw a triangle. So we'll just keep it simple. I saw a triangle in my meditation with a lot of energy and a lot of presence around me. The presence was immense. It was undeniable. And after my meditation, it took me a good 30-40 minutes to ground. And after that, I was still kind of like out of it. So just 30 minutes just to get up and walk. So I saw a triangle and a white dove flew through the triangle, and I saw the Christ cross. Not the crucifix, just the Christ cross. And so I was just like, oh, what's that about? And then all of a sudden, I just had this urge that I had to go see John of God for whatever reason at the time. And so this triangle just kept coming to me in my meditations every single day, every single day, every single day. And I had found out through the person who hosted that meetup that John of God was actually coming to Omega, which was in Rhinebeck, New York, which is 2 hours and some change away from Philadelphia. And so I'm like, all right, you know, I have to go to that because the triangle was leading me there. So I'm not going to go into my experience there because I said I have a video for that just to keep this shorter. And so essentially, every day that I meditated to find my purpose and why I was going to go, those triangles kept coming. And in my meditation, that is. And I just didn't understand why they were there. I would go outside and we went to the gas station and the pump had a big triangle on it. We went to a Burger King and the pattern on the floor in the Burger King was, they had actual triangles in the pattern of the floor. Just started seeing triangles everywhere I went. Not because I was looking for them or because I was aware of them. Because I was still, you know, once I'm out of meditation, it's kind triangle caught. This makes a lot of sense to me. I did the John of God Healing Entities meditation, and of course I saw his logo, which was his triangle, which it was unbeknownst to me that his logo would have been a triangle. So that made the connection for me that this particular triangle was through the John of God event. Now, my second question was, what did this triangle, was it still prevalent? Because after my John of God event, I thought the triangles would have subsided in my meditations, because I felt like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. The triangle called me. That was the calling card for this event. And now it's still prevalent. Now it's still in my meditations. So I'm just like, man, like, what's that about? So then it had to wait 8 days in order for me to start to Google what the triangle meant. And it still took me quite some time to find it, because I thought, you know, on his website it would have just had it, and it didn't. There was other places I had to go and look for it, and eventually I found it. And I had to wait 8 days because I had psychic surgery in my eyes, and I couldn't see for 8 days at screens or read anything. So the triangle, John of God's triangle, stands for faith, unity, and charity. So I want you guys to be mindful. Faith, unity, charity. I want you to remember that, because that's really where the story begins, is learning about what this triangle means. And I saw that, and for some reason it really resonated with me. It was just kind of like, I get this. Like, I don't know why I get this, but I have to write it down, because I just really feel like this is prevalent to me. And so I did write, I do name my journals. In the beginning of the book, I name it. Just whatever's the word, it doesn't matter. So it's just funny, because I'm going to bring that up in a minute. But I did draw the triangle in here, the faith, unity, charity triangle, as the beginning part of this book, because I didn't know where it was going to lead me. And this is, I got triangles on my book because, again, that's what really was calling out. And I was like, oh, something about these triangles that, you know, there's a story behind them, and I need to discover what that is. And so the thing about going to John of God was I don't have an income. And so going to John of God meant that all the money I had saved for over a year to go to my integrated energy therapy mastership, so John of God came up, I was just like, oh, well, I get it. I didn't pay for the IET because I needed this money for this. And so I said to the universe, I said, well, if you guys need me to go to both of these, then you're going to have to find a way to provide me with the funding, the tools that I need to get this funding for myself. And so I spent the money at John of God, with my class being a little less than a month away. And I was so unsure about it. But I had so much faith that this was what was meant to be, and I went and I spent the money. And of course I did wind up getting the money, actually. All of a sudden my inbox started flooding with mediumship and oracle readings, and I was able to regain the money I had spent, enabling me to go to my IET class, which was really great, because I had wanted to go for the last 2 years and I haven't been able to because of funding. And so I'm still within my 40 day window of spiritual detox, so I'm not allowed to receive any healing energy. So this was kind of like a paradox when I was going to a healing class that will require me to learn healing and receive healing and get attunements. So I just told the teacher, and I was honest with her. It's not like it's unheard of. John of God is very well known. And I said, you know, I can't receive, but I'm willing to receive my attunements today, but I'm not allowed to receive any energy work because of the detox. She respected that, and that was great. And so we get to the IET class, and I'm just really happy to be there. I feel so grateful. Coming out of John of God, I just felt super motivated. Like, all of my limitations were removed, all of the blocks have been removed, and I could just see everything clearly. So when I got to my IET class, on the second day, or I'm sorry, on the first day, she gave us an attunement. And this last and final attunement, because each attunement had a particular name for the level, and I was on master instructor levels, so that's my 4th one. And this particular attunement was called the Unity Attunement. well, we learn how to bring our soul's mission and purpose to out to ourselves, like bringing it in kind of like a fishing line, just reeling it into ourselves. And when she said that, a light bulb went off in my head. It was kind of like, oh man, I get it. Unity. That's this right here. That's my second part of my triangle. And looking back at my triangle, faith, unity, charity, I said, oh my goodness. The first part of the triangle was faith. I had to have faith to go see John of God. I had to move myself. I had to remove all my blocks, move out of my own way, and have complete and utter faith in the process of what I was going to do in order to get healed. And you want to know about what happened after and how I'm feeling with my many chronic conditions, check out my video. But I said, wow, that was faith. That was the first part of the triangle. This is unity, the second part of the triangle. And I was like, but charity, my life is a walking charity. Like, I give unconditionally to whomever needs me. I'm always there, always available. So I didn't understand why I would have charity on there unless that was just me needing to embody that more. And so a few weeks passed, and now we're in November. My John of God healing was October. My IET class, I believe, was late October or early November. And now we are in mid-November. And I make a friend online on Facebook. And while we're talking, the universe gives me the visual of what she's doing while we're talking. And I tell her, I see what you're doing. And she starts to clamor on about, you can see me? Is my camera on? And she's like, how'd you know I'm doing that? And I said, it's a long story. You know, I can't just, it would have been just too much information. Oh, hi, stranger that I just met. I'm the Oracle of Apollo, and, you know, no further story required. I just have the ability to do these things, and you have to accept that. I don't really like to make that conversation in that way. So we became friends, and we talked for a couple times. And what happened was, in middle of November, she says, maybe we talked like 3 or 4 times. She says, hey, come to San Diego next month. They're having a event called ServeX, and it's a non-profit organization that's raising money for orphanage. And the guy Manny, he's great, and you should come. And I just laughed because my initial thought was, well, I have no money, no income. I can't just, in the middle of a month, just magically pull out of my hat all this money to go across the entire country for a business conference that it was just kind of like, that didn't make sense. But then she talked for another moment, and then I said, wait, did you just say orphanage? I'm like, if they're raising money, it's kind of like a charity event. And she goes, yeah, because the proceeds go to that orphanage. And I said, well, I didn't say anything. That's when, like, I just got deathly quiet, and then it was just like click, 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 and everything just kind of just fell right into place. I have to go to San Diego, and let me look at my bank account and see how much money I have. Oh, I have $12. I have to get to San Diego. And it was crazy because I just knew it was just like something, just like John of God, deeply rooted inside of me that was like, you have to go. And I just knew that this was a third part of my triangle, the charity part. And I'm like, I'm gonna go. So I put into my manifestation bowl for my integrated energy therapy. I wanted to manifest all of the money to get to San Diego easily, effortlessly. My trip to be easy, effortless, surprising, and that everything went smoother than butter. I asked for specific animal totems to guide and be with me. And I had met one of my soul sisters during my IET class. And it's funny because, you know, the attunement was unity. I didn't also know I would be united with part of my soul family, which was so beautiful. And so she actually had someone not take yoga classes, and forward to her quite a couple of sessions. And that was monumental because I was like half of my ticket. And I was like, whoa. And you know, she didn't even know me. We met one time, and she just felt like, out of the kindness of her heart,